Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I vote no to SCR 1615 because I'm neither a racist, a sexist, or a bigot. Neither do I suffer from homophobia or the cowardice that would force me to vote with a group of white supremacists only to appease a Kansas MAGA base, withholding to a congressional party who is not only failing this country, but my own constituency. It is for these reasons that I will never support a resolution of this kind. The world is watching those that do. You know, this is really interesting. You know, here we are, and we're talking about passing a resolution for freedom of speech. However, I remember this same body getting completely unhinged because I stood here and used the word House Negro. Where was the freedom of speech on that day? It's interesting that the minds have changed, and so I wonder, is this part of a larger plan? I mean, is this something that is being pushed at a higher level? Possibly the congressional level? Is this just a group walking in lockstep? I don't know. But what I do know is that this individual has said some things that had I run across someone in my younger days that said some of the things that he said, there would have been a problem. I can promise you there would have been a problem. Happening all the time in urban America, prowling blacks. They go around for fun, and this is what he said now. And they target white people. He said that that was a fact. No data, but he said that was a fact. Now, certainly that upsets some black people. And it's a questionable fact. However, I could say something like, oh, I don't know, that white people are the closest thing that we have to Neanderthals today. That again would be my freedom of speech. I could continue and say that white people are the closest thing to an evolution from monkeys. That again would be freedom of speech, but I don't think any of you would raise a resolution in my honor because I exercise my freedom of speech, and those things are absolute provable facts. But I digress. I am a spiritual man, and I'm hoping that there's something in this free speech. You know, I know that oftentimes, you know, we talk about his faith, and that brings me to Luke 6, brings me to 6 Luke and 44. And it reads, "For every tree is known by its own fruit. For figs, not gathered from thorns, nor grapes vintage from a bramble. The good man out of the good treasure of his own heart brings forth good, and the wicked man out of the wicked brings forth what is wicked. For out of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks. You know, there's also a verse that says that you reap what you sow. I would contend that that young man, he reaped what he sowed. But I'll give this a chance. I'm trying my best to wrap my arms around the fact that this is just about free speech and not about some underlying bigotry and racism and all those things. So what I did is I did a Google search to find out what things that he might have said or done that would qualify. And with that, can I ask the carrier of the bill to stand for a question? That should really say all you need to know. Freedom of speech, yet she doesn't want to speak. Imagine that.
Representative, you need to come down to the well. Chair recognizes Representative Howe.
Mr. Chair, the representative is impugning the motives of the bill carrier, and that is inappropriate against House decorum and House rules.
All right, Representative Carr, just speak to the resolution.
I object. On the grounds that I am speaking. I'm not impugning. You can see it for yourself. You know, I think we've gotten a little out of hand with this impugn thing every time I come here. And again, exercising my freedom of speech, as Charlie Kirk did. But I'll say this. If you won't stand for a question, then I ask this question of those of you that have every intention of voting for this resolution. And these are just a few things that my Google search that I jotted down just moments ago told me about this young man. Because before this, to be perfectly honest, I didn't even know who he was. You know, before you know, the tragic accident, the tragedy, I had no idea who he was. But I read. And it says that he was a powerful advocate for free speech. He challenged the current federal government stance on several things. He traveled nationwide and delivered speeches that challenged mainstream narratives and civil discourse. I mean, if this sounds like the person, then it's okay for you to nod and I'll be in accordance with that. Says he utilized his voice to challenge the status quo and was known for never compromising the truth. He debated and spoke at colleges, universities, Oxford, Harvard, Yale, Morgan State, Columbia, Dartmouth, University of Buffalo, Michigan State, University of Howard. Always exercising his freedom of speech. I can understand you wanting to stand behind an individual like that and support a resolution that speaks to what he spoke to, which was freedom of speech. And so therefore, I have an amendment. Oh, I'm sorry.
The amendment appears long. Representative, can you please describe your amendment?
Yeah, I want to apologize. The individual that I just explained to you wasn't Charlie Kirk. That was Malcolm X. And my amendment simply adds Malcolm X to this resolution.
Is there objection to waiving the reading of the amendment? The clerk will read. Right, there's no objection. Any discussion on the Carr amendment? Representative Steele.
We would like to challenge germaneness.
The rules chair to make a ruling on the germaneness of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say after some discussion, the Rules Committee has ruled that that amendment is germane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bill, as the carrier of the bill stated, and as well as some of my esteemed colleagues reinforced, it's about free speech. Comment was made about what did October 14th have to do with Malcolm X. I don't think it's about a date. I think it's about honoring. And if what we're honoring here is free speech, I would contend that Malcolm X and the challenges that he had during that time, speaking the way he spoke. Dr. King was mentioned. Well, there was a difference in Dr. King and Malcolm X. Dr. King had a different approach. His language was not nearly as challenging or as controversial as that of Malcolm X. I think this fits perfectly. Both Charlie Kirk and Brother Malcolm, they met their end at the end of a gunshot. How much more correlation do you need? They both challenged with their speech. They stretched and pushed the barriers with the things that they said. And then, in the end, their lives were both ended by a gunshot. With that, I will say, if you are really here to pass a resolution about freedom of speech and not simply supporting someone who spews bigotry in one direction, hatred, racism, then you'll support this amendment. It's the right thing to do. And with that, I close.
All right, you've heard the motion by Representative Carr to amend 1615. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The noes appear to have it. Division has been called. The clerk will open the roll and you may vote. 33 have voting in favor and 82 against. The motion to amend fails. The clerk will record the vote. We are back on SCR 1615, and actually, Representative Carr, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that vote clearly represents the driving force behind this, and it has absolutely nothing to do with freedom of speech. I would exercise my freedom of speech and use terms like racists and bigots, but I digress. Thank you.